or you won't live to tell.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone back for part 2 of Wellington Camp. So we're going to go back into the camp and show you the other footage that we have. We have about 4 things, I guess, that I wanted to show you. First of all, I was going to, the first thing I wanted to really was keen on doing is trying to find some remains of the tramway. There was an aerial tram that went from the Golden Crown mine to the Wellington camp, and it was actually the major source of ore for the Wellington camp. So I was trying to replace, I saw on Google Earth I could see an old cut line, so I thought that was where this tramway was, but as I kind of explained in the video, it wasn't. It was actually a telephone line, probably the telephone line that went from Greenwood to Grand Forks, over Phoenix, over Grand Forks. It's been demolished for a long time, but there's still a bunch of these, or some of these insulators. I found some if you're interested in trying to find these insulators. There's not many around anymore. Most have been collected up, but yeah, solid copper wire. Someone just cut the copper, I guess. They just salvaged the copper, and then they used a chainsaw or something, cut the telephone poles down, but the line's still there. It's kind of interesting to walk along there. And then I also followed the rail trail. The rail trail ends at the Wellington camp, but I was curious as to where the other end is, how it hooked up. It's pretty overgrown on the one side, but had some adventures there, some pretty skinny areas there, and went over the bank with a quad there, but we survived. And I got some actually pretty interesting, towards the end of the video, some interesting footage underground. The rest of the stuff, I got some more stuff that I saved, some really colorful mineralization and stuff underneath that shaft. I went underneath that shaft, and there was an adit that's just really thin. I was barely able to squeeze through, so kind of interesting seeing that. So yeah, so that'll finish up the Wellington camp. I'm off to London, Ontario. I'm looking at other planes, so we'll get back in the air again, hopefully, and it really helps when we're looking for mines and stuff, and then we can get some footage, some aerial footage of some of these other mines we're going to be looking, upcoming mines we're going to be looking at. So, all right, I'm looking down the tramway here, close to the bottom. It's not that far to that tipple or ore bin or whatever you want to call it, and you can see it from the shot here. Just down on this road here, and we're going to head up along the tramway, and the reason we're going to do that is we want to see if we can find any remains of any trestles, because there would have been some trestles at some point here to hold these cables up, and see what we can find. So here's another shot of the aerial tramway looking down. It's quite surprising how the vegetation hasn't grown back in here in the last 120 years. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but it's starting to slowly encroach on it. I've found some insulators here. This is a cross type of power line, so again, I haven't seen any evidence of any tramway, but there's a couple of insulators, the first that we've seen, so I'm going to have to unscrew them and take them home with us. Something that's a little unique about these insulators is the way I found them is they were screwed, each one was screwed in like that, so you only have the one copper line here. So I don't know whether that being a power line or a telegraph line. It's a pretty fair sized chunk of copper. So it's kind of interesting where they're hooked onto 2 insulators and passes through them. That's a little different. And there's a kind of a sleeve that's on these metal hangers. I don't know, it's kind of a metal, I guess it's kind of a metal, and then that just screws right onto that tie there. So I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, but it's interesting nevertheless. So we're not seeing any signs of a tramway here whatsoever. You know, we're walking along this line here, and it's making me wonder, maybe I was wrong, that maybe in fact this wasn't in fact a tramway, and rather maybe it could have been just a power line, which yeah, it's a possibility. So, but we know that ore was transported to Wellington Camp from the Golden Crown. So on the side of the rail trail here we have some cross members for a telegraph line or maybe a power line. Now these are kind of unusual because you can see the wooden ones. Those are quite common where you see those insulators along the railway and stuff. And these would have been on the side of a pole, so they're kind of interesting. And I actually have some of them, those old insulators. But you see this other style it has metal brackets on there where the cross ties are. I've never seen insulators that were screwed into a metal fitting, so that's interesting. Even the newer ones that CN used had this old wooden style because obviously wood doesn't conduct electricity and metal does. This is a real cool rail trail that probably not many have ever been on. It goes up to Wellington Camp, and it's not really that well used. It's not real terrible. Some people have been through with quads there. If you go up Ironclad Road and you kind of cross the natural gas pipeline, kind of keep to your right as you're going up, you can find it here. There's one spot that's a little bit hairy here. There's a rock that's come down and blocked part of the trail. But yeah, we're going to be able to get around it, but she's just a little tight here, so could use a little work here. It'd be nice if someone had a couple sticks of dynamite they could spare and blast that out of there. But alright, guy could take some rocks and stuff, I suppose, and make a little bit. It just needs to be a little bit wider, and then you can get around it pretty easy. This is as far as you're going to get on a quad on the rail to Wellington Camp. There was a trestle here. There isn't a trestle anymore. So stretch here is fairly narrow. There's a bit of a path going through here, but you couldn't get a quad through here at this time. Here's the old rail grade going back to Wellington Camp. So there's a little bit of rock that slid in here. Bit of copper in that rock too. And it kind of heads back over there. Just over that ridge there between those two valleys is where the pipeline goes across. There you can see the pipeline going up to the side of the hill. I think that's the pipeline. And we're looking at over the hill to Grand Forks there. You can see a power line way back there. So it's just a beautiful view here. Nice place to go for a hike. Yeah, a little excitement here. It's kind of narrow going around here, so I come around here and I got some loose stuff, and I actually almost flipped over the bank here. So it dug down. I just hopped off, held on the throttle, and it just kept digging and digging. So, and then it couldn't go backwards, so it was okay. So what the plan is here, I just got her tied up. I got to back up a little bit so I can get ahead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually back up a little bit. I can't go too far back because I got her tied up. And then we can fill that hole back up, do a little work, and then hopefully we can get her out of here. So if I'd have been in four-wheel drive, it would have been okay, but I started slipping around that corner, and I got off, and I just held the throttle, and all I did is dig the back up, and it wouldn't come up. So anyway, yeah, I got that rope tight, tied it up, backed up, and then I shoveled a hole underneath there, dug, so I'll just jump on right beside it, and just give her the throttle and should hop back out of here. That's a pretty skinny little holes in here, but might have to go on a diet, lose a few pounds to get in some of these places here. Hopefully this big one will come around. See some real skinny ones. Skinny little holes. So hopefully this big one will come around and there'll be a couple of little holes going up. There we are, yeah, there's one there. I'd be really excited to see something with some railway tracks in it. Now this looks pretty interesting. It gets fairly skinny in there, but you know, and I would have walked in there, but here's what I'm worried about. See that hole? That floor doesn't seem to be very thick. Maybe it's just a real thin layer of maybe even just dirt or something that's caked in there. And then if I go in there, I run the risk of falling through there maybe into a big stope or something underneath. So it's not that I'm worried about the skinny ceiling, But I don't want to go in there because I can see that it's hollow underneath there. So it might be just a real thin ceiling. I don't know. Tough call. Yeah, of course I had to keep going. Lots of copper sign in here. And but it doesn't look like it really goes anywhere. This looks like an area that would do good for an open pit, you know, because there's so many small little pits where they've worked in here. And different types of minerals in here. A whole bunch of real small mines. They worked everywhere in here. And they're caved in and different things. And yeah, it looks like a cool spot for an open pit maybe. I don't think this tunneling was very successful in here. It's so crumbly. Yeah, there's so many stoped out areas and holes that they mined. They freaking caved in. Whew. Well, I'll tell you, that looked pretty freaking dicey, eh? I don't think that's safe to move that rock because if it's holding that stuff up there, we ain't never gonna get out of here. So I think we know how fragile everything is in here, so we're gonna be very cautious. And that's try to squeeze by anywhere where it looks that dicey. Oh, we got some quartz. Some gold-bearing quartz. There's a quartz vein back there too. Take our time, nice and slow. Don't upset anything. Oh, we're right in behind where that rock was. I didn't want to go. We were on the other side of that rock there and I didn't want to go through there because it was too dicey. So we ended up getting in here anyhow. So there we go. Well, this is all pretty interesting, but it isn't what I was hoping for. There's some interesting rocks and minerals here. Pretty loose in here though. Look at the mineralization in here. You kind of wonder if anyone's really been in here since they mined it or had a real good look in here. I can't imagine too many geologists being too keen about climbing into here. I can't remember if I went down there or not. Probably, eh? I think that was maybe the first place I went into down there, eh? I think so. Maybe not. Oh, look at the rock in here. Isn't that cool? What's opening up, maybe? Maybe. Maybe not. Oh, I can really feel a breeze down here. Holy shit. Really feel a breeze down there. I'm almost going to want to go down there if I shovel it out.
see what else we got. Yeah, that wouldn't be too hard to get in. I can get down there. Real good breeze there. Might even actually be able to get out a different way. I came from that way. Remember making it through here because it was pretty narrow. Okay. Now I should have made these little rock figures on the way in, but I was expecting this to come to a dead end somewhere. Well, that's pretty sharp, isn't it? Okay. I'm just going to hop to the end here. And, holy fuck, is that ever bad? Why, that fucking rock is just hanging there, it looks like, eh? Just make sure you don't touch the damn thing, that's all. And we'll be okay. Alright. I can see my other hole there, so I know where we're going. I'm just gonna sneak back out here and I'll grab my other spare light. I kind of forgot about the damn thing. I was expecting this not to really go anywhere, but I just gotta make sure I got 2 lights at least. Well, 3 lights plus the camera. What they do when they're exploring caves that can go in for a long bloody ways. Oh, look at that, pretty interesting, eh? Is they always have a line for exploring underground caves, especially when they're diving. They'll have a string, and then they just keep on that line, eh? And just follow it back. But obviously they're a lot more time sensitive than we are. I could stay down here for a long time without earning that oxygen or anything. Holy. Oh, there's a pretty good, a neat little thing they dug out here, eh? Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I don't know where that bloody air's coming from. This looks like the very end of a tunnel, eh? And the ground is so bloody fragile here. Everything's kind of falling in, eh? So there was a tunnel here, and this is the end of it. By the looks of it, yeah. Oh, nice looking rock, eh? Kind of strange, you know. Normally, I think when they mine, they're trying to follow these quartz veins, so you'd think, I don't know nothing about mining, but you'd think this is what they're looking for, but they quit here. So maybe they did an assay of some of this stuff and it didn't come up good, so they backed out of her. So this is a natural feature here, so that ceiling, eh? So there's a definite divide. The rock underneath that's completely different. It's a fault, I guess they call that. It's different than the stuff on top. So, still curious as to where the air is coming from. It could be just seeping through this stoked out area somewhere. Oh, this is a pretty cool area. Well, this doesn't make me too nervous because this ceiling looks really solid. But make sure we don't disturb anything, just in case, eh? That rock there looks like it's holding up something, eh? Yeah, it looks like this was a little railway that was going this way, but it got all plugged in. Everything's plugged up on this mine, it seems. So that must go to the surface somewhere, but who knows. Alright, so now we got some of this sulfide type material was returning some of the largest gold assays of any type of material. So lots of times these sulfides are associated with some pretty good gold. Sometimes they're not. So back up we go, I guess. Did see some pretty interesting places under here, but you know, not the holy grail that we were hoping to find. We were hoping actually to intersect a major railway system and we could access an extensive railway under here, but such is not the case. So this is looks like it's part of a mining operation, sort of a gold mining operation, I think, where they were probably scooping up gravel from this creek. This old girl, a few days ago, looks like a cousin maybe to that other one. Same vintage. So you can see it's got kind of like a dragline bucket on it. And pretty old machine. Look at the pads on here. They're smooth pads and chain link drive. Nothing hydraulic on this thing at all. So she's a pretty old machine, this little girl. I think it's been a few days since they run this one. I wouldn't hazard to guess how old it is, but I'm thinking probably in the 40s sometime. Oh, that'd be fun to climb up there, eh? So this was probably a kind of a, I've never seen this before, but it's a placer type of an operation. Looks to me there's probably just gravel around this creek. And yeah, I don't know, a sluice box here. And a grizzly. And they were mining this material here. Although it doesn't look like that occurred recently. There was some kind of a wash plant here with a grizzly. So that would have been set up so they would just grab the very smallest of the rock there, the real fine stuff fell through there, and they process that. There's another area that kind of goes in. You know, there's a lot of material outside. Goes in a pretty interesting area there. That, who knows if it's extensive or not, it's all caved in at the top. There's a lot of material here though, so but there could be other portals. I don't know if all this material is from here. So yeah, pretty interesting area. This is a really interesting area to explore from the surface. I haven't found an awful lot of really interesting stuff underground, but there's a lot of buildings here and all kinds of caved in stuff, so lots of interesting places to explore if you just like walking around and hiking. Bring a metal detector, you never know what you could find in here. This will wrap up our tour of the Wellington Camp. We're just sitting in the middle here and still scratching our head trying to figure out where this big pile of loose material came from. So obviously there was a big stoped out area here somewhere, but I don't know where. It'll just remain a mystery, I suppose. It's caved in somewhere, so. Well, there's lots of secrets here, you know, stuff to explore. But after a week, I think we've kind of gotten at what we can find here, and great place for someone that's got a metal detector and just likes to poke around, and I'm sure there's lots of secrets a person could explore here.